Today, I want to quickly share with you two types of people that every entrepreneur or every business owner, usually come across. And people naturally have default setting, So I'm going to major on these two type of people, The first set are the people who I would like to call encouragers. Their default setting is, they are quick to identify the good things about your business. They spot, where you are doing well, and they tell you, they encourage you, and they want you to, strive to do better. There are some people that come into my shop, they particularly like the way that we are transforming the lives of young people. They've heard about the testimonies of the cleaners that we have trained are converted to be professional hairstylists. People that lost hope in life, that we empowered and encouraged, I gave them hope, and now they are contributing to their community, and especially the lives of people, around them, So they like it. They commend us for that, and they, encourage us, and specifically when I meet with them, they're always happy, to see me. These are, like, I call these people encourager. They boost your ego. They kind of, they give you the vibes, the encouragement to keep doing what you are doing and to keep improving on what you are doing. But there's another set of people too that their default setting is to pick mistakes, is to notice where you are going wrong. The moment they enter into your shop, they are quick to see, mistakes. Sometimes they don't even get to find out why the situation is like that. There are some people, they just notice anything, they don't ask why, and they just disappear. You don't get to hear from them, and all that. And maybe some of them will go about telling other people that, oh, no, if you go to that place, this is what is going on there. It might just be an instance, or it might just be something that just happened. Do you understand? Maybe the management, is not aware, the manager is not aware, So such people, they just take it as something that they take it to heart, and because of that, they will avoid coming to your business premises. This kind of people too, I also take them seriously, because somehow I get to meet them. Maybe something will happen, and is either they call or they will say, Bruno, oh, this is what I noticed the other time, or this is why I think this thing is happening like that. So I'll not take the time to explain to them. I'll let them know that, this is what happened, this is what happened. See, this both set of people, the encourager are the ones, that are quick to notice bad stuff or notice, mistakes. I take them very seriously. I don't joke with them. I treasure them, because one, on one hand, encourages me. The other one, on the other hand, gives me feedback. In business, you need feedback to succeed. You need feedback. Sometimes most of the things that I know, that I improve on, are from some of the angry customers, or those customers, that are quick to notice mistakes. Their feedback helps me to improve on my business. Their feedback helps me, to correct one or two things, that which I wasn't thinking about, or something that I know that my staff are doing that I wasn't aware of. Do you understand? if you want your business, to succeed, encourage, be receptive to these people, the ones that encourages you, and also the ones that are quick to notice mistake, because they are the ones that give you feedback. But the types that I don't like are those ones that come, they don't encourage you, they don't give you feedback, and they just disappear out of the scene. Do you understand? And when things go wrong, that's when they will not call you, or they will not say, I said it, that's why this thing is not like that. Do you understand? Now, encourage business to grow. Encourage entrepreneurs to grow. Doing business in Nigeria is not easy. There are a lot of challenges. And most of the challenges that we have doing business in Nigeria, it might not necessarily be because of the government policies or because of landlord. A lot has to do majorly, with the workers. A lot majorly has to do with the workers. If you talk to 10 entrepreneurs, 9 out of them, will tell you, doing business in Nigeria, the problem they encounter is majorly with the workers. Do you understand? We live in a country whereby, staff loyalty is scarce. Everybody is in a hurry. Everybody wants to be their own boss. Everybody wants to own their business. And what is even making it worse, is that, when you have a staff, because Bruno's Place, for example, we are heavy on staff welfare, where we take staff character, attitude, and personality seriously. That's why we take enough time to brand them, package them, and work on their character, give them the necessary information, and at the same time, work on their attitude, how, they can maintain a positive attitude all the time, Human beings don't usually like pain. They don't like sacrifices. You understand? Anything that will cause them pain, even if it's something that will work for good for them, they will rebel. They will resist. And the environment is not even making it easy. I've seen so many cases where I will train staff, I will empower them. When they do something wrong, I correct them. This is something that is their fault. I will correct them. The next thing, they will live in annoyance. They go to the next available salon. And the next available salon, will not even ask them, why did you leave that place? Or they will call to find out what went wrong. Why did this staff leave your employment? They don't bother. But you can't do this in America. You can't do this in Canada. You can't even do it in a civilized or developed country where you have rules, where you have laws, and all that. But the environment make it easier, for staff, majority of them, to be disobedient because there is no follow-up. Do you understand? There is no punitive measures. Do you understand? Having said that, I made up my mind that no matter what, you understand, I will focus on my goal. I will focus on the calling and the purpose, of God, for me in doing business. I'm into business, not necessarily because of the money, because of the power, and because of the memorable experiences, the achievement and all that, I'm into business, to make sure that things are done rightly, things are done to the glory of God, and whatever we do is something that will benefit humanity, something that will not hurt, any human being, So this is the reason why I do business, and my focus is what transform lives, raise their standard, make life convenient. That's my purpose for doing business. Do you understand? It's not necessarily about making money. If you are interested in transforming lives, you are raising people's standard, and providing a convenient environment for people to maximize their potential, money will come, fame will come, memorable experiences will come. Do you understand? So I've learned to always focus on my focus, and not to be distracted, by the disloyalty, by the business environment that we happen to find ourselves, and by all the challenges and difficulties that we'll find, in with the people that we're doing business with. Do you understand? So let me also use this opportunity to encourage every entrepreneur out there, focus on your business, focus on that purpose, that calling while you are doing business. Focus, don't lose your focus. Now, I also want to also emphasize that before you do business, have a purpose. Have a purpose, have a reason why you are doing business. A lot of people are doing business just primarily because they want to make money. You don't set up a business because you want to make money. So what is the message that your business is sending across to people? Then number two, what impact are you making in your community, in your environment? What need are you fulfilling? What solution are you providing? Are you get what I'm saying? When I got into this, my business, the idea was to improve on the lifestyle of hairstylists and barbers. Because each time I go to the salon, I always hear people saying that they were working to save money so that they can go to school, get a degree, then go and work in a bank. And this is the same bank that I'm running away from. Now sometimes I hear people they are just doing the hairstyling or barbering because they want to raise money. They want to jackpot from the country. I travel to America, I travel to Canada. I know what goes on there. Life is not that easy out there. I also know I've worked in a structured environment for over 12 years. I know what happens in the boardroom. I know what happens in strategic brand meetings. Do you understand? There's nothing like, doing something, that gives you freedom, doing something that gives you consistent income, doing something, that gives you memorable experiences, something that you can grow, something that you can expand, and that is why handwork is very good. So me coming into this business, it was for me, to help them, to teach them and to show them how to take an ordinary business and make it extraordinary. And that's exactly what I did with Bruno's Place. I know my purpose. My purpose is to transform lives. My purpose is to, raise people's standard and to make life convenient. And that's what I'm doing to my business. That's what I'm doing to my business. When I was working in the bank, I was in strategic brand management, and that's where you see my selling skills, my packaging, my branding, which you see in everything that I do. Do you understand? And these are the things that help me, to create awareness, for my business, and also to make people to buy into my business. Do you understand? But that is not really my calling. That is not really my calling. Do you understand? Calling is to transform lives, raise people's standard, and provide a commitment for them to maximize their potentials. Do you understand? And in doing this, God gives me money. God makes me powerful. God gives me memorable experiences. Do you understand? My purpose for doing business is very clear. So if you are getting into business just because you want to make money, you want to have power, you want to have achievement, you want to have memorable experiences, from day one, I will tell you that you have lost. Do you understand? Because business is not just about money. Do you understand? People that are into business just because they want to make money, they don't give a damn about holiness. They don't give a damn about righteousness. They don't give a damn about godliness. Then you ask me, what is holiness? What is righteousness? And godliness what do they have to do with business? Do you understand? But the truth is that when it comes to holiness, you must have somebody that you are accountable to. When you have somebody that you are accountable to, you are accountable to God. You will not use your business, you understand, to do things that is evil, to do things that is wicked, to do things that is unlawful, to do things that is illegal, to do things that is unethical. Do you understand? Then if your business is righteous, is pursuing righteousness, you will always do what is right. You will always know the third people difference between right and wrong, and your business will always focus on the right. What about godliness? Godliness is about having human feelings. You don't just charge people arbitrarily. Do you understand? You don't just look for a way to gain while other people will lose. Do you understand? So holiness, righteousness, and godliness, if you take it out of business, you discover that you're only interested in just making money, and you don't give a damn. You're not interested whether the inflation is going up. You're not interested whether people, their life is better. What you are just interested in is how to make your money. That's not really business. That's exploitation. Do you understand? So if you are going into business, clearly define your purpose. What solution are you bringing to the table? What needs are you going to be meeting? What answers are you going to be providing to people's questions? You have to define that. And even when there are challenges, there are difficulties, you focus on that, your purpose. You don't lose focus. Are you getting what I'm saying? And that's what we do in Bonus Place. And business has its ups and downs. Do you understand? That sometimes it goes up, it goes down, But if you are resilient, you are determined, things will always turn around and work for your good. I want you to ponder on all these things, and I want you to like my video, follow me so they can be getting update from me, and share my stories, share my videos, with people, with your friends, so that they can benefit from these things that you are hearing. Do have a nice day until I come your way again. Stay blessed. Until I come your way again. Stay blessed. My name is Bruno Oek, and I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer of Bruno's Place Unisex Salon. I used to work in a financial institution for over 12 years before I became a barber and a hairstylist. Now, I am the first person to open a salon in Ikeja City Mall, the first person to open a salon in Jabi Lake Mall. These are the two biggest malls in this country. Now I have a big place, spacious place that is convenient for my workers and also for my customers. It's just located opposite Ikeja City Mall entrance gate, beside the Place Restaurants. The name of the close is called Olu Oni Close. We're at number 3. Just come and experience us. Come and encourage me so that come and encourage my boys, so that I can always come and give you tips and share my experiences and the lessons that I've learned in my business so far. I'll be looking forward to seeing you